Does this shock you or surprise you at all? I heard some things, someone talking about the fact that in 2010, there was this sort of strategic plan by Republicans to take over these state houses so that they could actually start passing, laws along the lines of these. A, is that true? And B, how did the Democrats miss that so much?
We've lost a lot of it in down ballot races with Democrats. I remind everybody here who love them some Barack Obama, like I love me some Barack Obama. We lost 1,000 House seats under Barack Obama. That's how little investment we made in the infrastructure at state parties and state legislatures while Republicans were building a farm team. Shame on us. We should do a better job at this. This is a big reason we're in the situation that we're in today, is because we've lost control of so many state legislatures, and they did have an exact plan to do this while Democrats were doing whatever Democrats do, trying to save the world, trying to save things, and not doing a very good job at messaging. We let them catch up on us. Now, the key here is that sure, everybody gerrymanders, but not everybody handles it in the same way. I went back and looked, Jamie, at all the states where if we wanted to now redistrict ourselves and do the same thing they did in the seats that Democrats have, the state house, the state senate, and the governors, I went and looked at their systems, and good faith Democrats, bless our heart, we're just too good for our own good. We went into almost all of these states, went to the voters and created nonpartisan commissions because we're the good party and we're the good guys, and we did it where it'd be fair to everybody and have fair districts and take politics out. Well, it's almost impossible for us to go in and do what they're doing because we've been trying to do good governance. Now, people would say to me, Chuck, that's what we should be doing in America. It should like democracy. Well, I tell you what, I said this morning on CNN. There's a time you really need to fight back, and it's kind of the old bully scenario. Everybody now stepping to me on TV going, Chuck, what about California's going to do it now and Illinois is going to do it? I'm like, look, we didn't start this. Texas was just walking down the street, minding its own business, and it got sucker punched. Now it stood up and it's fought back and whooped their ass, and now its friends have showed up to whoop some ass, and you can't blame Texas. We were just walking down the street trying to mind our own business, and y'all come up and sucker punched us, so you're going to get what you're going to get.
That's so well said. I guess the question that I'd love you to clarify is there's this option of either A, let Texas do this, let Texas roll the dice here. Heard you talk with Mike on the podcast last week where you actually think this could backfire against Texas. And they may be overly confident on what this redistricting will lead to. But at the flip side, I also think I've heard you kind of say you don't think California should, and New York and other Democrats say should fight back and sort of, do this sort of punch it out strategy. So I'd love you to kind of clarify both those ideas.
Two things. Number one, how could this bite Republicans in the ass? Your listeners are like my podcast listeners. Y'all are a bunch of nerds, and that's why we love you. And listen to me, nerds. What's going on in this redistricting fight is they're redrawing lines based off of how well Donald Trump did, a lot with Latino voters. He dramatically overperformed in a state like Texas, and they're drawing lines based off of his performance. And if you look at the map they're going to pass, the one that's going to get through, they've even created more Latino districts. But the problem is they are assuming, this is the part you write down, they're assuming that we're going to perform at that level and do better every election, when in fact, if after the 2018 election, when there was the highest turnout for Democrats by Latinos, and you lay that performance over these maps, they only pick up 2 seats and not 5. And we win those seats in the Valley. So their assumptions are wrong. Their assumptions could be right, Democrats. It's on us to get those Latinos back. There were a poll out yesterday by Eki's Lab when asked generically with battleground state Latinos, do you want Democrats to win in the midterms or Republicans? Democrats were at 48. Republicans were at like 37. So there's a big gap there now already starting to create because Latinos are anxious and they're angry. And so I don't think that they're going to perform as well as Republicans think, and there's an opportunity there. And to your second question, Mike Madrid really made the case of California shouldn't do what they're fixing to do, which is redraw their lines to get those 5 seats back for them or some other state. He said, if we're going to be the party of democracy, how can we not be the party of democracy? And we jump in and over and supersede what the California voters have said in a ballot constitution with all this input in from this civil organization that y'all have in redistricting. And I'm kind of on the other side of that now. And I let him talk and do his spiel. But I do believe that if we constantly are the party that's just taking a punch and taking a punch and taking a punch and never fighting back, that we're never going to actually have anything to fight for when 27% of Democrats approve of the Democratic Party and the rest disapprove because they want to see us fight back. They're really sick and tired of being sick and tired of what they see as a weak party.
Eric Holder, who you would expect to come out and sort of be against the idea of the Democrats fighting back, even he came out with a piece in the New York Times and has been saying, enough is enough, and and it's time to fight back the same. So I think that that feels like the only option right now. So. You talked a little bit about state parties, and I've been really fascinated by about the fact that state parties seem like the easiest and cheapest way to really get ahead in politics and presidential and local and state and federal. But it's the place with the least amount of investment and least amount of emphasis. Has that something you've seen forever? Is that a new trend? The Republicans obviously put a lot of emphasis into that. What am I missing there?
State parties have always been underfunded. Uh, but the problem is if you get under the hood again and you look within that state party, it all started with Howard Dean, who wanted a 50 state strategy, which was really smart to start investing. Republicans went around even their own state parties and invested in organizations in states, whether it was the Koch brother and the Libre initiative. It was other actions of what we talked about with this red operation to recruit folks to run at the state level. And they put their money into building because they almost felt they had to at the time because demographics at that point was working against them. You had a country coming of age that was turning more black, brown, and multicultural and heavily AAIP in certain areas. And they weren't resonating with those voters. So they went in and started building. While Democrats kind of sat on our laurels and thought that these demographics would be our destiny and they didn't invest where they needed to. You couple that with looking under the hood at the state parties, where that's some of the most incestuous places on earth of where work happens. There's very few new faces at a state party. God forbid in a big county party like LA or Dallas or Houston, it's somebody's brother-in-law who has some consulting firm who's doing something and they pass it down to somebody else. It's really the bastion of this incestuous work, which really leaves out poor working class people. Stay with me here, which is really a big part of the drop off with Latino voters and some male Black and Latino voters, is that we've lost contact with these people because they don't represent in the people who are actually making the strategy. The folks that are doing the strategy think they're doing a good job and they do a decent job. But the decent job used to get us by and we would win. But the decent job, as you've seen the whole electorate evolve, you've seen Latinos come of age of a second and third generation now being a much bigger part than the immigrants, which were 20 years ago the biggest part of the Latino vote. And you start losing a little bit of what I call cultural competency. And then when you lose that around the edges over several cycles, you see a Latino vote that's moved 18 points towards the Republicans in the last 10 years.
That's yeah. I became close to Anderson Clayton when I spent some time in North Carolina, and I thought what she was doing in that state it was amazing. And if you just doubled down, it would make such a massive impact on all these elections. And now we're seeing it play out in Texas in a way that, I mean, to be honest, I'll admit it, I didn't think something like this really could happen. I mean, Donald Trump just blatantly saying, "I need five more." Votes in essence, right? I mean, well, the flip side is right. He said in the first election, he called Georgia and said, I need more votes, right? So why not ask for five more votes here?